Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank UNESCO and partners for pulling together an event like this over 3 days to bring not just decision makers, but also some of the influencers in the region together to discuss innovation, which is very, very critical. When you take into account in the next 10 years, we have 1 billion youth between the ages of 15 and 24 entering the labour market. And these youth need to be prepared with the skills and education to obtain decent work over the next generation. It's a huge issue, and I think when you hear stories like what Shaheen mentioned, where working with 1 million women to become literate is not even a drop in the ocean. It, to me, speaks to our need to start thinking outside of the box, to start looking away at new ways of working, to improve not just the scale of the services that are provided for out-of-school youth, but also to start looking at how we can improve on the quality and start to value add onto the programs we provide. So I'm not a youth employment specialist, although the ILO has a department dedicated to that. My background is in the Livelihoods and Entreprise development field of work, where we reach out to entrepreneurs and SME, particularly in this region, to develop their business management skill sets and the environment, the business enabling environment for them to operate. The program that I'm going to present isn't specifically targeting out-of-school youth, although out-of-school youth are a significant beneficiary group who receive this training program. It's actually targeted for all vulnerable, marginalised and hard-to-reach communities out there. And I'll explain, after I've given some context to that, why it is the ILO decided to move in the direction of a program specifically targeting these hard-to-reach groups. Last year I went to a communications workshop dealing with the media, dealing with audiences whose background and interests you don't really know. And my one takeaway was to front load your message. And so I spent some time trying to come up, what is the key point, the key takeaway that I'd like to get across to the audience today. It's less about Seabed, the program that I present, as a training tool itself. It's more what was behind Seabed. And for an organisation like the ILO, which is filled with technical experts and specialists in their area of work, we can sometimes lose sight of what it means to be a learner, put ourselves in the shoes of the student, if you like, and we get caught up in the training infrastructure and scripting out what it is we need to deliver and ensuring that it's the highest quality and standard. And so when it came to Seabed, we've kind of been able to step back and try and reaffirm that role of the learner and look at what learner-centred approaches we could develop and expand on. So I guess that's the message I'm trying to front load here, that training and education is about learning, it's not about teaching. And with the Seabed program, we try to be guided by that. For those of you who don't know the ILO, and I haven't been fortunate enough to be here the last 2 days, so perhaps you have some insight, we were established in 1919 as the first specialised UN agency, and our specialisation is the world of work. What does that mean? It means promoting decent and productive work for all women and all men in conditions of security, freedom, equality, and the one that I always forget, dignity, of course. We're unique to other UN agencies, and in fact most of the development actors that you would be familiar with, in that we're tripartite in our structure. This means that representatives of governments, generally through the Ministries of Labour, trade unions and employers, set out the path for the ILO. All our program and planning is influenced by the direction that these tripartite constituents want us to take. And that breaks down even to the national level, where we work with governments to develop a decent work country program. And we bring together the government representatives, the trade union and the employer specialists, and they set out what work needs to be done. What are the priority issues and how do we start to build institutional capacities to make decent work an opportunity for all. So that's the background to the work, but why the ILO is interested in youth issues, beyond it being the future of work and the future of our constituents, but also we're in a youth employment crisis. I'm not sure if this has been brought up over the last few days, but I'll be honest, for me, it was something I was aware of, but not just how deep a crisis we truly are facing. What we're seeing today at this point in time is the highest rates of youth unemployment on record since the ILO started keeping records on youth employment. We're looking at, as I mentioned, the next 10 years, 1 billion youth entering the labour market, 40% of whom, based on current estimates, will not find employment. That's 400 million youth who perhaps don't have the skills and the education to enable them to get access to the workplace. When we look at youth today between 15 to 24, 1 in 2 is either unemployed or falls among the working poor, earning less than $2 a day. So it's a very significant issue that's going to have implications for the future generations. And this is why the ILO is very focused on what can be done. Now, the ILO's work itself, we have 5 areas that I've been able to determine which loosely capture where we're going to address this youth employment crisis. The first is working to improve investment in the quality and scale of education and training. Very important. Start to address the mismatch between skills and labour market demand, talking to the private sector, understanding where we need to go for the future. Ensuring social protection and basic services for all youth, regardless of their contract type, not just full-time employment, part-time and seasonal contracts, which is the current trends we're seeing in. And then finally, supporting investment in business development to ensure that we can create new employment. And really the link to the Seabed program that I'll introduce and what pushed the ILO Enterprise Department into this direction was the challenges we faced when trying to build the capacity of institutions to support business owners, to develop entrepreneurial skill sets. In this region, it's important to set some further context. 60 to 96% of employment in the region comes from SMEs. That is, 96% of all businesses are in this micro, small and medium category. And now definitions vary country to country. Often what is called small is actually what I would be more comfortable calling medium. It could be enterprise with 100 staff members. But the bulk of these enterprises in the region are micro. These are where the potential jobs exist for this large number of out-of-school youth now and the youth entering the labour market. So first and foremost, the ILO is trying to develop business management skills, the policy and enabling environment for business owners, trying to move businesses from the informal sector across to the formal sector where they have more security and protections, but also recognising that entrepreneurship itself could provide an alternative path for youth to decent work. Where you have youth graduating from TVET programs where perhaps there has been a mismatch in their skill set and what labour market opportunities exist, they have an opportunity, or perhaps by necessity, a need, to generate their own income through some kind of entrepreneurial activity. And so we need to work with a variety of partners to start to develop this skill set in youth before they're faced with a crisis, before they hit that transition period from school to work, which ILO studies are suggesting takes 19 months, more if you're a woman or a minority group member. So 19-month transition period from school to work. This is where the necessity-based entrepreneurs start to emerge. Actually, this picture is of one of the young entrepreneurs that the ILO has supported through the Seabed program. Hopefully I get some time at the end to talk a little bit about him. Halfway already. Go, go, go. Okay, so the ILO has a traditional way of working, and this was really kind of where we started scratching our head. We have trainer-based programs, heavy on the business theory. They're standardised, which means that they're kind of time-based. Everyone does the same amount of time in the program to graduate, and heavily resource-intensive. Now, the Know About Business program, hopefully some of you already know about, this is a global product. It's in all 5 continents, and its heaviest use is in Asia and the Pacific. It's an entrepreneurial curriculum designed for secondary schools. 120 hours embedded into the secondary school systems. And we have tailored versions for non-formal education centres and TVET institutes, and we even have an adapted version for university curriculum. Excellent program, very high quality. 120 hours to complete as a learner, not including the training of trainers and certification process you need. The next kind of global product that we have would be Start and Improve Your Business, SIYB. This is a fantastic program. It's the world's most heavily used business training program. It's been around for 30 years. Millions of people have received the training. It has a team of global trainers at the ILO who maintain a network of regional trainers, who maintain networks of national trainers, who maintain networks of sub-national trainers to train people to train people. There's a lot of costs involved. It's very, very, very challenging to maintain those networks and the appropriate skill sets to deliver the program. It works out to about $300 a day to participate in the program. So it's not one that is easily sustained when working with groups such as out-of-school youth who don't have the money to pay for such a training. So what we find is that it's more towards medium enterprises, those more sophisticated kind of enterprises, and it tends to be sometimes donor-driven because who else can subsidise such a program? The last program we have, which targets has a targeting for youth, is the Get Ahead program. This is a watered-down version of SIYB, only 5 to 7 days. I forgot to mention that Start and Improve Your Business is 2 weeks. Get Ahead's great, and it has a lot of focus on the issues that women entrepreneurs will face. But again, it relies on having a trainer in place, and it relies on a big, thick, heavy manual that needs to be translated, and that for participants need the literacy to be able to understand, comprehend, and work on. And so we've been trying to meet the massive demand for our services, but hitting a wall in that the trainees themselves lack the resources to pay for some of these services. They don't have the literacy or educational background to work with such abstract theory. They don't have 2 weeks to step away from whatever activities they're doing to put food on the table to participate in one of these programs. Likewise with institutions, whether it's a Ministry of Education, a Ministry of Labour, or even a trade union, an employers association, or an NGO. It's too difficult to find the resources, the budget to run one of these programs at a subsidised rate, and to retain the trainers and networks of trainers that you need to be able to deliver this program. What we found is that all these traditional ILO products are in the top right quadrant there. They're high resource, high capacity investments, and we needed to find something that was in the lower quadrant for those people who are missing out. Otherwise, what we were doing was trying to empty the ocean with a spoon, if you like. They just weren't reaching those who need it. So we looked around for inspiration. There was a Newsweek article, 2011, that brought to our attention activity-based learning out of India, specifically developed to target out-of-school youth and also children rescued from forced labour. All activity-based curriculum, highly energetic, led by a teacher, but run by the students themselves who come from mixed backgrounds, mixed aptitudes and skill sets. We looked around the region and realised, you know what, there's at least 300 million micro and small enterprises in this region who are succeeding. 90% of whom, I suspect 99% of whom, never had formal business training before. So how can we tap into that social capital? And then we also were aware, as everyone, of a flat pack, a do-it-yourself flat pack. With the right instructions to follow, people can achieve many things. Can we combine activity-based learning with this social capital and simple step-by-step instructions to develop a new curriculum that reduces or removes the need to have a trainer or a business expert available, that can be run anywhere, anytime, for almost any group of individuals? And the result was Seabed, community-based enterprise development. Seabed's just one of 3 or 4 products that we now have, product lines, that apply this community-based peer learning methodology. In Seabed, 5 to 7 individuals work alone, following step-by-step instructions in a manual. One member of the group reads out the instructions to the other group members, and they monitor their own timing. Groups work independently of each other so that the timing of the training is flexible and adjust to their own aptitudes and interests. One member of the host organisation would be required to act more as a convening role, bringing people together, managing the logistics, and troubleshooting if there's any concerns at all. But the curriculum is designed in a way so that participants are sharing their background experiences, their existing knowledge, and their own insights on other people's business ideas. And together, they work through a structured business program looking at the product, the place, the price, the promotion, strategies that they can develop for their own business ideas. Now, I'm just going to show a 2-minute video of what Seabed looks like. This is a group of youth from refugee camps in Thailand, just one of the many groups who are participating. If I can. As you're watching this video, note none of these individuals has been trained to facilitate. And none of the individuals you see walking around without a camera are actually from the host organisation. Okay, so one of the findings for us as we started rolling out this program was that we weren't just developing business competencies, but soft skills were developing side by side with these. Not just out-of-school youth, any of the groups we're training, they're developing critical and creative thinking skills, communication sets, time management, organisational skills. And that is part and parcel with the Seabed training. Depending on the training tool, we have tools for those who are planning to start a business or just curious, those who already have a business and want to improve, financial literacy, social and protection. What we find is at the end of these trainings, the individuals who come out of the program are very clear on where they need to go to next. And they have this skill set they're able to apply towards their own idea, which is quite different to some of our traditional training programs, which are output-based. Walking away with a written business plan, even if you didn't think it out yourself. So Seabed's found a good fit for a variety of organisations. These are organisations who see entrepreneurship as a way to improve access to protein in a refugee camp setting, for example. They see by creating an entrepreneurial mindset and culture within the community that some of the agricultural activities will move from just being a self-sufficiency activity into more of an enterprise. We have organisations that are trying to develop a further skill set for TVET graduates so that where jobs don't exist, they can create their own employment. Wide variety of programs. At the moment, we have more than 70 organisations, 20 countries, 3 regions of the program being rolled out. The Department of Agriculture in Indonesia is in the process of training 70,000 rural outreach workers who will facilitate groups to reach 7 million farmers using one of the Seabed training tools. These are individuals with no background in business management, no training on how to deliver the program, just individuals who can reach these hard-to-reach communities and convene groups. Some great numbers coming through, but I want to kind of draw attention to the fact that we need research on this. And we talk about where's the future of Seabed. It is doing a randomised control trial on a very large scale. But we have global partners now with UNHCR rolling the program out, with Plan International, Oxfam's and like rolling it out in very different settings so we can study it. But from our rapid assessments of impact, we're returning very good value on an approach that doesn't require that business expertise. We can start to engage these difficult to reach groups like out-of-school youth, and through their own social capital, they're able to develop skill sets that are having a real impact on their ability to access finance, to start businesses, and to improve business. I don't have time now to talk a little bit about Cambodia, but there's a lot happening in Cambodia with the Ministry of Education and some of our INGO partners. And so we welcome any inquiries through our website where you can download any of our training tools, my final point, because we've decided to go with Creative Commons licensing to make these tools free and open source to any organisation who might be interested to take up. And we do that with the expectation that partners will tailor and adapt it to their own communities and then help us in the further development of these training tools. So anybody who might be interested in learning a bit more, getting a copy of my presentation and whatnot, you can reach me through one of these websites.